of 40 minutes today. So welcome everybody. It's great to have you all here on our webinar today, which is signs you're ready to launch your own recruitment business. But we're also talking about the essentials of a new start recruitment business. My name is Richard Foster. For those who don't know me, I'm the Client and Sales Director at Giant Finance Plus. We provide full back office support and 100% finance exclusively to the recruitment industry. So it is our niche, it's what we do. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Roisin Preston, who's the Director of Nurses UK, a long-time client of Giant Finance Plus, and has most recently set up a new business called Nurses UK Franchising Limited. So ideally suited to join us here today to talk on this topic. Roisin has experienced firsthand highs and lows of setting up a recruitment business and is now using her expertise and experience to help others. So a great guest today. Roisin, would you mind giving us a little more information about yourself and your business?
Yeah, sure. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me on, Rich, and the team. I'm from Nurses UK. I'm the founder. I started 9 years ago in Eastbourne, East Sussex. We're now based in St Leonard's, East Sussex, and we've got 1,500 nurses on our books. So I got into it because of my mum's actually retired now, but she was an ex-NHS nurse. So I saw firsthand the stress that she would go through day to day in the recruitment of nurses. I come from a bit of a background from business as well. My dad had his own business. My uncles had their own businesses as well. So yeah, it's kind of in our DNA, really, healthcare and business at this point.
Brilliant. Thanks, Roisin. So as we said, starting a recruitment business is easy nowadays. There's a lot of things that are done for you. It's very simple to just go onto Companies House and register your business. But starting a successful recruitment business is certainly not easy. What you need is a strong foundation, careful planning, and there's a lot to prepare, but there are some key fundamentals. And what we've worked on today is what we think are 8 essentials that would really help you as either a new start business in the early stages or someone looking to set up. So I've worked in this industry for over 20 years now. I know I don't look it. I've seen many successes along the way, but unfortunately more failures where people just haven't got these things right. So there isn't one rule for all, but we do think these are the fundamentals that will hopefully help you along the way. So we're going to split it into 8 sections, and then we're going to kind of do it as an interview approach where I'm going to go to Roisin and talk through each one, and she'll talk about her experiences. So the first one we've identified is market research and niche specialization. So a fact that most of you may be aware of, there are currently over 30,000 active recruitment agencies in the UK. So it's certainly a saturated market. You need to stand out. So there's a temptation to potentially be a jack of all trades, so you don't limit your client base, allow you then to approach any client or any candidate, but specialization in the niche sector will certainly help you to stand out. What we've seen is do what you know and do what you're good at. So Roisin, if I can come to you, you've mentioned a little bit already, but why did you choose healthcare? And why was it important you did something that you loved and knew so well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, because my mum was an NHS nurse for a long time, and actually, she was a sister, one of the youngest at the age of 24. So I saw firsthand, how difficult and short-staffed always, and that hasn't changed, in my business, definitely in the last 9 years. But it really gave me a passion straight away for healthcare and how we can help alleviate the pressure of the nurses and the NHS system as well. Just to give you an example, I mean, we've obviously gone from 9 years of nothing to building this Nurses UK empire as it is. But we now, we're 365 days a year. So having something, you have to have a real passion for it, and then building a team that can see that passion and also have the same passion to go through. And I think that takes a lot of empathy as well, especially dealing with healthcare.
Yeah, I think that's right. If you're coming into this thinking it's a 9-to-5 job, you need to stop now because it's your business. It will become the blood, it's your child almost, isn't it? Everything you do, you think about, you're still thinking about Nurses UK, I guess.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's on your mind all the time. So you definitely have to have a passion for what you're doing. So I think if you've got an idea and it's something that you're really dedicated and something that hits you personally, you will naturally put the time in that you need to, especially a startup. There's no set time, especially in healthcare. It's 24 hours. Calls at 2 o'clock in the morning is a natural thing that happens every day. So yeah, you've got to love it.
Brilliant. Okay. And the product that we are selling here, or you guys are selling, are candidates, effectively, at the end of the day. So Number two in our essential list is to build a strong candidate network. So you've got your sector, but now you need your candidates. And 20 years ago, you could be considered as basically a CV provider. So people come to you because you say recruitment, then you give that CV to somebody else. That's your job. It's a whole lot more than that now. You've got to add value to a client. What can you give your talent pool to stand out and secure loyalty? Because taking on a candidate, I can't remember the cost off my head, but it's an expensive job to onboard. And if that candidate leaves you after 12 weeks, well, you've got to then go and find somebody else at that cost as well. So trust and loyalty is key, being more than just a job provider. So, Roisin, what do you think are the most important steps in building a skilled candidate base?
Yeah, I think for me, if you want to gain loyalty to your brand through your candidate base, you need to, like you said, provide more than just be an agency. I mean, them days are kind of over now. So it's, how can we, involve whether it's our office staff, our nurses, everybody that works within the business, how can we make them, want to stay with us? And retention is really important at the moment with recruitment agencies. So we do a lot of things. We do wellness programs. So every month we'll invite all of our nurses in, all of our office in, our clients, everybody, and we'll do different things. So we've done yoga, pumpkin painting this month. We do lots of different things, but also charity events, community events in our local community as well. So last year we provided one of the Christmas trees in our area. So, we try and think outside of the box to make our staff stay loyal to us. And it works, to be honest. Our retention is quite low in the nursing. But I genuinely think that's because we know our staff inside out. We communicate with them. And it's really built a loyalty to our brand as well.
That's fantastic. I think one of the things that we hear from candidates, certainly from the more sort of giant umbrella side of things, is they don't have that kind of working relationship you do as a permanent employee. So you're seeing the same people day in, day out. So for you to offer that when they might be working at different hospitals or different care homes every week, they've got that thing that they might otherwise be missing. And so many agencies, unfortunately, still is just about placing a body into a role and not those extra bits. So if you can create that loyalty, it's again, you're not looking for candidates every single week because you've got the same people coming back to you for work because they trust what you do. Brilliant. Okay, so candidates tick, we've done that. So number three is develop client relationships. So where are you putting these candidates? Who are you going to be invoicing? And obviously a difficult bit. You'll no doubt have your target clients, but you've got to make sure that you've done your market research, that they're suitable for you. You want to work with those clients. So which of your targets already use agencies? What do they need from a recruiter, and how can you make a difference? So it's about a communication, consultative approach, etc. So Roisin, I know you've got extensive client base that you've worked on for many years, but when you're searching for new clients, what's your approach? And I guess more importantly right now for you, how will you be advising or helping your franchisees as they come on board with this?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to say there's like a secret recipe to winning every deal. I really wish there was. But I think really it's just resilience and persistence. I mean, in recruitment, it's a sales industry, so there's a lot of doors that will get shut naturally. So you've got to have that resilience to just keep on going. I mean, I'd love to say that every single phone call we make becomes a lead straight away. I mean, it doesn't straight away, but I think if you're persistent and you keep making that phone calls, and I think it's very personal as well. So you need to put yourself in front of them and have that empathy on how they're doing it. Everybody in the health system is short on staff, so we know they have a requirement. They can't prove that we're going to do a good job, but they can't prove we're going to do a bad job either. So it's about making them like trust us and getting us to use us as an agency. Part of the franchisees, what we do now is, so when we're mapping out our territory, so we use like this professional mapping company, Atlas. So they have mapped out territories for each of our franchisees. So we can guarantee that there'll be, say, at least 300 CQC registrations in that area, which gives them 300 opportunities essentially to be able to get clients on board. And then it's really about the training that we provide. So we provide an intensive 21-day training scheme that will show them how to go to clients, how to approach them, how to make phone calls. And yeah, really it is just the resilience. And once you get there, after years down the road, you get that brand awareness, and people actually ring us now without us having to ring them, which is great. But we still now have to go out to our clients and really persist. And and make them calls. But yeah, I mean, our team here, they make at least 100, 200 calls, sometimes more than that a day, just on new clientele bringing it in. It's
So
a
that's
lot.
amazing numbers, yeah. And you're right. I mean, to get sales coming to you is obviously everyone's dream, isn't it? That's what we want. I
Definitely.
think one of the things you said that resonated with me is the face to face. So we've obviously all been aware of COVID and the impact of that, and a lot of us have really moved towards a remote working environment, which means a lot of team calls, a lot of Zoom calls. We've noticed it in our industry while we're speaking to agencies. If you get out face to face, the relationship's completely different. You can ask questions that you otherwise might not, feel suitable to ask or comfortable to ask. And I think, as you've said about resilience, persistence, absolutely the key. So, the stat that I've got is 80% of sales apparently made between the 5th and the 12th contact with an individual. So, if you give up after 3 times of calling somebody, you're missing 80% of your sales, basically. So, list your target clients, set yourself a sort of 6-month timeline, aim to contact them every couple of weeks. And if you've got confidence in your product, believe in what you're doing, then best way about it, I think. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you for
definitely.
that. So number 4, so we're halfway through the list already. Essentials is technology and tools. So this is an interesting one. It's a new start recruitment business. You'll be inundated with sales calls. So everybody's got their flags of checking for the SIT codes on Company's House, new recruitment agency, right? I'll give them a call. And they'll tell you need a certain ATS, applicant tracking system, or an expensive CRM, which is a must-have for you. So we've seen loads of small agencies sign up to Salesforce paying 12 grand a year and making 5 grand a year, but they're in a contract. So all these things can come at a huge cost. They're normally quite prohibitive in terms of their terms. So it's important you find the correct partners and the best fit. Think about what you need up front. And obviously, as a back office partner, GF Plus can provide the low cost solution for these things with pay and bill reporting, contract management, the HMRC compliant filings. So we've got all those things for us. Roisin, what would you say are the must-have tools for a new start recruiter? So particularly those, I guess, on a tight budget as it would be initially.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, as time goes on, you can afford to get these ATS systems, CROs. We have all of this now. But what I think the bottom line at the startup, you have to really, really shop around, write a process of what you really want, and then go out there and find it. Don't be afraid to ask, is there a break clause? You don't want to be stuck into a contract for years and end. So if you've got that break clause, it's kind of like a get out of jail free card, so you've got options to come out. But I think if you write down exactly what you're looking for and then go out there and find a company, there's so many companies that do more than what they say on the tin. So ask the questions. And yeah, I mean, I've firsthand made many mistakes on getting into these systems that you think is going to do the magic things, but ultimately you still got to recruit the candidate is face to face, so you've still got to have that. A system can't offer you that, and it can't put you in front of a client. So them two things comes down to yourself. So these big systems, they can wait when you can afford to get there. But I mean, yeah, there's so many out there and they make so many phone calls and you think, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, but you have to really think, is it a necessity right now?
Yeah, and it's as you say, it's confusing sometimes to know what they do. So if you go to any of the trade shows, so the recent expo, you've got Access next to Firefish, next to other ones as well, and they all do very slightly different things, but none of them may be of any use to you if you can't place those candidates, find those workers actually, and know how to pay them. So, what are you doing with your franchisees in terms of systems, Roisin? Is that something you help them
I
with?
mean, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I feel like franchising is a great option because we have sort of developed and perfected an agency essentially in a box. So for our franchisees, where we're in that position now, we've found what works for us and our secret recipe. So our franchisees get access to our CRM system, our ATS system. So essentially they are going in with these systems, but where we're able to have more users, we actually get a discounted rate. Unfortunately, for startups, it's not always the same.
Yeah.
But that's something we're able to offer our franchisees, and obviously we give them all the training. It's 24-hour support on the software systems as well. But it's what works for us, and I think all industries are so different now. But yeah, we offer this to all our franchisees to help them have success in their startups.
That's brilliant. And as you say, yeah, the getting that sort of bulk discount, as it were, we do the same with our credit insurance. A single credit insurance policy we'll come on to, but it's quite prohibitive in terms of payment. But through Giant Finance, the same as that, and also with our pay system, our credits as well. Brilliant, thank you. So number 5, and our essentially come on to branding and marketing. Just a reminder, we will come to all the Q&A at the end. So if you do have questions, please do ask along the way. So number 5 is branding and marketing. So you'll just see above Roisin's head there, the Nurses UK logo with the little heartbeat, which is fantastic. We love that. So like everything in place, it is important that people know you exist and how they can contact you. So the times are changing. We were speaking to some of the guys in our marketing team about Instagram being a key way now of approaching people. But I think a website is still the best way of affirming your market presence. And it also provides some validity to your LinkedIn posts or your calls that you've made to prospects. And a strong brand and name are also essential. So again, how do you stand out in a crowded market? Nurses UK, not being rude, but it's extremely simple, but it works brilliantly, especially within the logo there. So how easy was it for you to decide on your name? Did you have lots of extravagant names up front? And I guess what inevitable mistakes have you made along the way?
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, when I look back at the first logo that I had 9 years ago, it was just like horrendous. And I'm like, oh, did I really think that was a good idea? But it's funny how things adapt as the years go on. But yeah, I mean, essentially, if you're selling something, you need to make it obvious. I mean, there's that famous saying, "Do exactly what it says on the tin." And I think Nurses UK, for me, it's really obvious what we do. We're a nursing only agency, so I think have a think about what you're going to provide and think around that. I mean, I see a lot of really good potential companies, but I never really understand what it is, and I think that's really important. And like you said, like the website, yeah, definitely. I mean, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, I haven't been. I don't remember the last time I went to a restaurant where I didn't look on Instagram to see, oh, what's their food like, or what's their place like, or and we're in that age now where people are taking pictures all the time and they're posting it here and posting it there. So we encourage our nurses to come into our office, have photos with us. And I think really what's something that's changed a lot in the last even like few years more so, recruitment is such a sales industry and it's really like reports, it's really person to person. And we're trying to go for a bit of a journey with our personal branding now. So like our consultants actually personal branding themselves through Nurses UK and selling themselves on LinkedIn as a recruiter as well. And it's really made a huge difference. So I think don't be scared to put yourself out there, take videos, put it online. People really buy from you as a person, and that's something that we've really noticed. But yeah, social media is so important. And, even if you think you don't know, there's free courses out there that you can do. And, so even I think all the time, like, oh, I think I've got it now. And then somebody will come in young and they'll be like, oh, like, have you done this? And I'm like, oh, let's have a look. So you've got to adapt as well and move with the times.
No, it is really important. You're right. You've got to evolve. And I thought I was quite social media savvy until I spoke to people 20 years younger than me and realised I'm well out of touch and I need to listen to other people. So we're working on our LinkedIn presence at the moment because you're right. LinkedIn has changed massively, and it's not just posting jobs anymore. It's about the personality of the person that's on there. You might win clients because they have similar interests to you or share same opinions and things. So you've got to be out there more, which you do. And I've seen your LinkedIn presence, Roisin, and I need to do the same on that. So thank you for that. Number 6, so this is an incredibly important one in our essential list, and this is cash flow. So the reason that 20%, and it is that higher number, of new businesses fail within the first 12 months is due to issues with cash flow. So you may have nailed the previous 5 points we've just been through. You've got your candidates, you've got your clients, you've got a great name, etc. But if you don't have control over your cash flow, your business will ultimately fail. And this is not just the case for new starts, but all businesses in all sectors. So obviously, we at Giant Finance offer a solution in that with our 100% finance, specifically to recruitment. So obviously our niche sector. As a temporary recruiter, you'll need to pay your candidates each week. You've got your associated HMRC payments also on a weekly basis. And depending on your payment terms and the strength of your credit control, you may need up to 2 months worth of funding in order to meet your requirements. So invoice finance takes away the worry of that and assists meeting all of your outgoings if your invoices aren't paid. You will still need to ensure you're in control of your outgoings. So as a new start recruiter, the most important thing you'll probably need is just a laptop and a phone. Everything else is effectively non-essential on that day one. The expensive office, the all singing and dancing CRM systems, the 3 high billing consultants, all those things are fantastic, but something to aspire to and not needed in the first year, certainly. So Roisin, in terms of Nurses UK and your experience, what advice would you give around cash flow and any expensive mistakes you might have made in those early days.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like you could have all of the points that we've discussed above, but ultimately your candidates, especially in our industry, are getting paid weekly. And for me, I think Nurses UK would have potentially had to slow down our business if we didn't have the support of Giant, because we have to pay out all of this, payroll every week for our candidates, as well as, we need to run the business as well and pay our bills at the beginning. Things are tight. So if I didn't have Giant there that were giving me that funding up front to pay my staff while I wait for my invoices, I think it would have been a disaster. But as well, I think people as well, they think, oh, you get a client on and they pay you in 30 days. It's just not realistic. Like that, we would love everybody to pay in 30 days. And some of them do, don't get me wrong. Like there is some great clients that do. But we're in an industry that's quite tight to get these invoices paid. So having Giant there, it's like a safety blanket, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely helped Nurses UK to adapt and grow whilst working with a great company. And I think something else as well, like I've worked with other companies in the past, but your support team is available. Like, I mean, I don't want to mention his name, but Chris, oh my God, he's been, even if I call him like out of hours, he's available. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's probably going to kill me for saying that, but if there's a real situation, and we've been there with Nurses UK before where, there has been, and the support has just been brilliant, especially, like it can be lonely as well if you're the only person running this business and you might know everything there is to know about recruitment. And in the early days, the finance might be something that you're not quite sure about. And you've got expertise on your fingertips that can say, well, actually, like we can help you with this, or have you tried this, or have you tried this? I mean, my credit control skills have gone through the roof now. So yeah,
it's great. It's great to hear. Thank you for the compliments of the Giant. But I think you're right with any partner that you work with. It has to be a partnership, and we try and make that point. But our best clients are those ones that we have that relationship with. So Chris, who's your client manager, doesn't mind taking us out of work calls because he knows how important it is to the relationship and the future of your business and ours. And I think the other good point you've made about being an individual setting up on your own. So whether you've been an employee before or a consultant, suddenly you don't have the person you sat next to ask advice or be a sounding board. So who else is there? And the client manager fills that role basically. I'm a bit unsure whether I should do this. What do other people do in my sector, in healthcare, in education, whatever? So it really is important. And in terms of the cash flow, I mean, you will be throwing curveballs. It just happens, your biggest client that's paid every week, suddenly something happens on their site and they can't pay you for 2 months. What do you do? So having that safety net or safety blanket in terms of finance facility, that's what it's there for. So thank you for that, Roisin. So we're on our last two now. So in hand with that one, really. So this is number 7, and this is credit insurance or bad debt protection. So it may be something that you guys have never thought about before because it's not really talked about that much, but it's a cost that is worth budgeting for up front. So credit insurance, or otherwise known as bad debt protection, with the number of insolvencies unfortunately on the rise, it's important that you have this in place to provide protection should any of your clients default and become insolvent. So bad debt protection provides you with peace of mind should anything happen. So if your client goes into insolvency, you will still receive payment from the credit insurer for those invoices. So you've already put all the money out the door in terms of payroll, paying the revenue, etc., all the costs up front with credit insurance, and make sure you get the money back in at the end. So working with an experienced partner like ourselves with your facility, you will get credit management alongside the credit insurance, and you'll be given advice in regards to patterns in the market. So as Roisin's just discussed about Chris, what you may see is that we know a certain client or a certain sector, we start to see slower payments. So we can give that information up front. Or on the flip side, we've seen a lot of new billing go through certain sectors. So if if this is something you're interested in, perhaps it's a time to look at that. So we help you look at patterns in payments, etc. And also you can then act in advance of worst case scenarios. So you get warnings up front, gives you time to act, to pull candidates or to speak to your clients. So we do this on a daily basis. We're monitoring credit limits with our in-house credit control team and just make sure that you guys are aware of any potential issues. So credit insurance allows you to take calculated risks and provides competitive advantage in your chosen sector, basically. So Roisin, What are your thoughts on bad debt protection and credit insurance and the impact it can have on a new business?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's non-negotiable in my eyes. I think you definitely, I mean, when, like I said, when you go to a client and you sit in front of them, they're not going to tell you, oh, just to let you know, my credit history is bad, and they might not know because they'll be an
Yeah,
administrator or not the owner of the actual business. So for me, this is great because when you set up a new client, everything goes over to Giant, and then they'll come back before you even get to that point where you've booked a shift to be like, right, this is the credit, I'm the history on this person, this is that, this is this. And so you then, like you said, calculated risk. If you know somebody's got really bad debt payment history and this is your first client, maybe this isn't the first client for you because you need somebody
yeah,
that's going to be able to keep your cash flow coming, enabling you to grow. But without this and without Giant support, you're blind, really. You don't really know. I mean, you can do some research, but ultimately, Giant and the team, they will actually be able to tell you, like, I've actually worked with this client before, and they have that knowledge. It's really non-negotiable, and you need to make room on your bottom line, on your forecast for this, definitely. Yeah, non-negotiable.
great. Thanks, Roisin. And I think it's worth saying, I mean, will be occasions where you don't get credit limits. So be it a new client, they've just set themselves up. And in those situations, we will be able to fund if we have an agreement between us. So in Roisin's case, and I know you won't mind me saying, we've got such a long history together, we can make decisions between us about it, whether it's worth the risk to go with this because of your income, etc. But those conversations I had, it's not just I'm going to put 20 candidates in and we'll see how it goes. It's
Yeah.
calculated risk. So brilliant thing. And the other thing actually we've not mentioned is the with the credit control, it's the good cop, bad cop. So again,
Yes.
if you're just one person or a small team, you're phoning an individual to make a booking, to win their business. If you've got to phone back 20 minutes later with a deeper voice saying, can you pay my £5,000? It's not always a great conversation, and it may mean they won't want to take your other call to place business. So we can come in, or certainly an invoice finance provider who does credit control, and you can separate us. So I know, Roisin, unfortunately, you've had to do that before, where you
Oh
can
God, yeah.
say it's not me.
Yeah, do you know what? I love that, to be honest, because obviously we are like the saving grace, oh, we're covering your shifts all the time, and
Yeah,
we
you're
are that
nice.
good
Yeah,
cop. But we don't want to make this, especially at the beginning. You can't make that same phone call. Oh, I know you've just given me that shift, which is great, thank you. But also you haven't paid your invoice, so it doesn't really work. But when you've got this good cop, bad cop, it does. It's very effective.
yeah. It's difficult to turn down shifts, particularly in this market. But if you've got the line of my invoice finance provider is telling me we can't because of your credit position, so what can you do to help? Us. It does go a long way, and it certainly avoids some unwanted conversations.
Definitely.
Great. Okay. So we are on to our last point in our essentials, which is the boring but essential part. So this is compliance and legislation. So please don't all turn off. So as you all know, being in this industry, recruitment is one of the most legislated sectors, and the rules are forever changing with new legislation. As once again seen in yesterday's budget, with the changes to employers and employees NI and the minimum wage increases that are going to come in. So you've got to be agile, and you've got to forever thinking about rates, about how you communicate these things to your clients. So in addition to employer requirements, you've also got your HMRC filings. So you've got things like GDPR to think about. You've got agency workers regulations, right to work, IR35, licensing in your industry. The list is really endless. So aligning yourself with the right back office partner can help you in remaining compliant on top of these changes. So we will communicate to our clients about the changes from yesterday's budget, what it will mean to them, when these things will come into effect, and what we are doing to make sure that you remain compliant as a client of ours. Without that, you will have to control these things yourself. There'll be a lot of work involved. Do you have the capabilities to do that? So it's always worth looking at what you can get in terms of support. We also work closely with Team and AppSco, who can support clients and provide guidance as required as well. So definitely worth looking at memberships for those bodies if you get the opportunity. Roisin, how important do you feel that being up to date with compliance legislation is? And what support did you use in your early days? Because I assume in health, well, I know in healthcare there are lots of qualifications and extra steps that you have to follow.
Yeah, honestly, like compliance is huge. It takes up a lot of our time. As if it's not hard enough getting a new client, getting a new worker on board, then you've got this continuous compliance. I mean, obviously there's the nurses continuous every year, but also the updates, things are coming in all of the time, new trainings that have to be put on. But then you've got the standards, the right to works, DBS. There's so many things now, just to get a candidate through the net, but there is big consequences if you do not follow these procedures as well. So I think it's very, very important that you start as you mean to go on and you have a process in place for absolutely everything. I think as long as you can follow that process, you should be all right. But it's a huge part of the job,
Yeah.
but there's no getting out of it, unfortunately. It has to be done. But I do think, yeah, like joining Rec is really good. Obviously, you guys send out a lot of emails, updates all of the time as well. But I think it's very, very important part of the job, especially in the early days. You need to get it right. But yeah, I think that's another great reason for franchising, really, because the pilot office, i.e., us, we have to do all of this research and put everything together. So then we put them updates in place for you. So really, you don't have to go out and think about these things. It's all put in place, ready to go, and having that knowledge from somebody that already has it is a lot easier than having to research all of that as well
Yeah.
first.
And another reason for choosing something you love and enjoy, because you need to be an expert in it. I mean, I know we just talked about in healthcare, but also in construction, you need to understand the COS scheme, etc., and what that means if you don't follow that. And other sectors have those same sort of requirements. So absolutely important that you live and love it, really.
Definitely,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Okay. So that is the end of our list of 8 essentials that we think you'll need when setting up a new recruitment business.